With us now, Marc Caputo, White House correspondent for Axios. Marc, lesson number one of Trump: Trump always wins. Musk learned that. Why is this important?
I think Elon Musk not only misses being around Donald Trump, they have a friendship, had a friendship, I'm not sure of the verb, but he really liked the access to power. When you're the world's richest man and you own the biggest political social media platform and perhaps or certainly the world's biggest private space company, you can do anything except for one thing: be in the White House, unless the president lets you there. He liked the power, he liked the proximity, he liked the action. He's a bit of an adrenaline junkie, and there's no more adrenaline that can be found than the Trump White House.
Did he sort of, I don't want to say outkick his coverage, but overthink his own importance? Is that what happened? Is he thought he mattered, he thought Trump needed him, and it turned out he didn't?
I don't know. I don't know enough about Elon Musk and his style of thinking, so my guess is as good as yours. I'll do a dumb thing and just give it. I don't think he was really thinking that much. And I think the evidence indicates his feelings were kind of hurt when Trump sort of didn't want him around anymore, or folks in the White House didn't, and they let his special government employee status lapse. You know, after 130 days, you're supposed to leave the White House. If you're not an actual staffer or government employee, you have to leave. And that, combined with a few other perceived slights, really, really pissed him off. And he lashed out. Again, he is the world's richest man. As a result, this is not a person who's used to
having to apologize,
hearing no, taking no for an answer, being sort of thrown out of a place, and saying two words which he hasn't said yet: "I'm sorry."
Well, we don't know. You reported that there was this phone call
publicly
between them. Yeah.
Right.
So, and look, we'll see.
It's not public. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see if Trump holds out for the "I'm sorry," which, considering the way that Musk talks and threatens, may be hard. Although threatening President of the United States is pretty rich.
Everyone who understands the relationship and understands Donald Trump, they usually say the same phrase or a variant thereof, which is, it's never going to be the same. That is the sort of the bromance between the two. That having been said, Donald Trump's reaction to Elon Musk was different from anyone else's reaction, or any other person who would have treated Trump like this would have gotten a much different reaction. That is, Trump would have just blown them out of the water with two bazookas.
Right.
Here, he was more hurt, and he was more tolerant, and much more in control, which is a rarity that we've seen out of Donald Trump. And even similar, I don't even think there is a similar circumstance. Similar circumstances maybe like this.
Yeah, it's a good point. He held his fire and didn't counterpunch. Want to get to that. How much of that is because Trump is feeling pretty good right now? You watch him interact, especially about this immigration issue. He feels like he's got a winning streak at the blackjack table as we watch live pictures of Los Angeles.
That's a good question. I hadn't thought of that. That makes sense. But even more to the point is that Donald Trump really likes Elon Musk. He prizes money-making. This is a super rich guy, the richest guy, again, in the world, owns a rocket company, which Donald Trump loves that idea. And Donald Trump has his own social media company, which is a pale comparison or a pale shadow to X, which Elon Musk also owns. They both have something that the other sort of wants. And so Trump just really liked him.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.